BBC Radio Scotland Travel.
Now, if you're not fond of flying, here's something you might not want to hear. According to new research, increased air turbulence caused by climate change could lead to more mid-air injuries and passengers being forced to spend more time confined to their seats with the seatbelt sign switched on. Well, Professor Paul Williams from the University of Reading conducted the study and joins me now. Good afternoon. Are we already seeing signs of this?
According to some statistics, yes. So there are American statistics which show that since the 1980s, the number of people being injured by turbulence has increased actually by a factor of 5. Now, that sounds like a lot, and it is a lot. It's partly due simply to the fact that there are more of us flying now. But even after you correct the statistics to account for that, there's still been something like a 100% increase in the number of people being injured by turbulence per flight departure. So it does seem like there is something real going on here.
And what are your projections?
Well, we've been using supercomputer simulations of the future atmosphere, turning up the carbon dioxide amount in those simulations. What happens is, of course, there's global warming and climate change, and part of that is that the jet stream at flight cruising levels speeds up. So, and basically, in simple terms, a stronger jet stream means more turbulence. So we're looking at something like 180% more severe turbulence over the North Atlantic, 160% more over Europe, 110% more over North America. So increases of 2 or maybe 3 times as much severe turbulence by the middle towards the end of this century.
Well, that sounds fairly drastic.
It does. I mean, I should reassure listeners that severe turbulence, although it does hospitalise people because it's stronger than gravity, that's actually the definition of severe turbulence. It is rare. The fraction of the atmosphere that contains turbulence that strong is tiny, and even if you double or treble a small volume, you still get a small volume. So the chance of your plane in the 2050s encountering that small atmospheric volume that contains severe turbulence will still remain small, but take into account the number of planes in the atmosphere at any time, and you won't have to wait very long before one of those planes just randomly encounters that severe turbulence.
Yeah, I mean, we've all experienced some turbulence in planes. Are we actually going to notice a difference, do you think?
I think so, unless we get better at turbulence forecasts. So every 6 hours, currently, a forecast is made, just like a weather forecast, but specifically about aviation turbulence. And it's used by pilots and flight planners. Now, those forecasts, just like a weather forecast, they're not perfect. They're about 70% accurate, which means there's a further 30% of skill that we could potentially squeeze out of these forecasts given more research. But basically, unless we get better at forecasting where the turbulence will be and when, I do think that passengers can expect by the middle of this century to be confined to their seats a lot more often, 2 or 3 times for 2 or 3 times as long on a flight, because the seatbelt sign will be on and you'll be in that potentially moderate to severe turbulence that does project people around inside the cabin if they don't have their seatbelt fastened.
It must be quite difficult, though, to predict turbulence, given that, we've got weather forecasting stations here, but they're on the ground. I mean, what do you do in the middle of the atmosphere?
Yeah, that's a great question. There are ways for calculating how strong the turbulence is given the state that the atmosphere is in, and we know that quite well from satellite observation. So we know where the jet stream is, what latitude it's at, how strongly it's blowing, and those kind of parameters tend to turn out to correlate very well with where the invisible turbulence is.
And as far as you're aware, are our planes up for the job if we see, massive increases in turbulence like you're talking about?
Yes, it's been a long time since turbulence brought down a plane. I have seen pictures. There was a plane flying over Colorado in 1992 that was flying through turbulence that was so severe, actually, that one of its engines got torn off in the middle of the turbulence and about 6 meters of its wing. I mean, that's obviously very rare. Planes are built to withstand turbulence. The tests they do are very stringent. And I understand the more modern planes are designed with more flexible wings, and that improves the dynamic response of the plane to turbulence. So no one should stop flying because of this. I'm not suggesting planes will start falling out of the sky. I'm just saying we're going to have flights which are less comfortable, confined to the seat more often, and the potential for spilled coffee and discomfort.
But if, like me, you're scared of flying anyway, it's not going to be good, is it?
Are you? Well, it's quite common, actually. I'm told that something like 25 to 30% of the population is afraid of flying. It's very common, and I know some of the airlines run courses, actually, face your fear of flying type courses that claim to heal people, if I can use that word.
That's about as attractive as face your fear of spiders. I don't think so. Thank you very much indeed for speaking to us, Professor Paul Williams from the University of Reading.